Hello, parents, and welcome to Digital Back to School Night. My name's Dow Tate, and welcome to Hauberk, or as it's known on our schedule as Digital Yearbook Production. So we are just getting started, but man, we always like to sort of see this end where it's the point when the yearbook truck comes up and the kids are excited and everything's done, and then they can go in and enjoy themselves in the gym. Or last year, well, it didn't quite look like that, but kids were still excited to get a book back and get it out. And of course, dealing with all that and the quarantine was a pretty amazing feat, but these kids did it. They pushed through. They had to retool about 30 or more pages after the spring break. And everything happened, and they did it, and they were the first one in the Shawnee Mission School District to have a book out. There were other books I know of, not just in Shawnee Mission, but beyond that, oh my gosh, they had not even taken club photos at that point. But these kids really pushed through. And I think if you look back, and I think if people look back, and especially in those spring sports, and really appreciate what these kids were able to accomplish, and that they were able to get pictures of every spring sport in that book, which not everybody was able to do. And that's just a huge credit to them. So I hope at some point people appreciate that. Uh, but right now, we're probably here. We're back to here. And this is a look at kind of where it all begins. So this is, and sometimes it's just a sketch, just something on a piece of paper, just something sketched out. And you can sort of see some of the themes that they started messing with last year, whatever, before they really started settling on this one. And this, of course, is the end result, but it didn't sort of get that way instantly. In fact, it takes quite a bit of work to get to this, because it really is just a massive undertaking that these kids are about to go through and accomplish, and they will accomplish it. And this is 516 pages all on one page. There you go. And so you can sort of see the massive amount, because it is just a massive yearbook, especially among high schools. In here, you really get a chance to see the process, because like I said, it's not an easy process. And that's the big thing we try to preach, that you have to enjoy that a little bit. Because it's not just sort of one and done. There's no instant answer. You really have to work through the creative process to get here. And so you can sort of see a designer who worked through that, and just lots of iterations. And that's really just a glimpse. I mean, I think we pulled just a few out of that, when some of these kids will go through multiple versions of the design. And that's okay. Sometimes it takes that. And here you see the bowling designer do the same thing. You see them sort of mess with different photos and different ideas and play with different organizations of it. And so one of the things I preach is a lot about the process. And it's really just sort of getting in and understanding that there's going to be frustrations. In fact, we watched a video today about that, just that process. And it's, it looked at some movie maker, and she talked about everything that my kids go through, which she was going through that with the movie, that, the ups, the downs, the feeling that you've been working on this forever and not getting very far, and suddenly you have a breakthrough, and then all of a sudden that works out, and then it collapses, and you have another breakthrough, and then finally you get on a roll and you get through it. So it is really just a process that it's sort of tough at times for the kids to adjust to, but it is really beneficial for these kids. And there's a lot of professional applications for it, because they're really just going through something any professional creative goes through. Just a quick look at kind of the grades, or just the basic expectation of the kids. There's always some idea brainstorming that goes on, whether it's a spread idea or photo ideas or story angles or whatever that looks like. For photographers, there's a regular process called feature hunting, where they basically have to, like, they're given something like color, or they're given something that we need, like freshman photos. And during that week, the intention is to go out and capture those moments and find the stories. And this year, the challenge is going to be that. It's going to be finding out where the life is. And that's why I keep telling them, I'm like, life is happening. You just have to figure out what you're able to shoot, what you're comfortable shooting with your own. Don't ever put your own safety at risk here, or anyone else's, but that's kind of what you need to go through. So there is some sense of like trying to figure out what people are doing and where people are living their lives. And we want to try to capture that. There are still monthly assignments for kids, whether you're a writer, designer, or photographer. You're basically given a monthly assignment that you'll work through. And then you're evaluated by your production process. Have you met the deadlines? Did you get all the captions on that spread? did everything get finished and finalized going into it? So that's still a part of the process. And then I enter in, look at the final product, and then we kind of judge some things there. And then along the way, everybody does a little bit of writing. We try to, the mantra really is that everybody should do a little bit of everything. So you may be a photographer. That doesn't mean you can't learn to interview and write a little bit, whether it's captions or coverage, and then the same thing. And so for writers and designers. So we try to get everybody to sort of work on their skill sets, improve skill sets that make you much more marketable. Whether you go into journalism or not, I've found over the years that these skill sets really are useful, and kids come back all the time and talk about that. So yeah, so there's a little bit of your process, and see that the brainstorming process, it happens with photography too. So we try to get kids to understand that it's not just sort of quickly done. This is actually a photo editor, Katie Drake, and posing for what they wanted to do with portraits. And go back there for a second, and you can see all the different sort of iterations of that portrait that they went through. And invariably, they kind of settled one. They brought in the person who happened to be a model, so that was kind of a nice thing. And so they came out with this really gorgeous portrait of her for the spread. I mean, look at how well it played on that page. So you know, that process can play through whether you're a writer, designer, or photographer. And that's kind of what we preach, you know, to get to the high quality that these kids have accomplished. I mean, truly, we're only one of two school, I don't know if it's their second school, but we, for the last 2 years, have won the highest honors for every single publication from the National Scholastic Press Association and the Columbia Scholastic Press Association, which are the two major national high school journalism associations in the country. So that's really an accomplishment that few, if any, schools accomplish each year. But right now, we're in the middle of trying to figure it all out and figure out where life is. And so I threw them these examples at some point. We were talking about photojournalism, the COVID era, you know, maybe it's just sort of shooting family or people that you're comfortable with in terms of what they're doing during quarantine. You know, there's much more a family lifestyle, or what hugs look like. You know, I thought this was a really nice image from a high school down in Texas that took a look at what goes on, you know, how it is that people sort of get together and they still try to distance, and they still try to have these virtual hugs, which I thought was fun. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges to figure out this year, and we're working our way through them. We hope at some point you'll be able to join us for our showcase that usually happens early in January. And so this is kind of a glimpse on that. And it's really nice for parents to come up and community to come up and see the process that these kids go through, and see what they're proud of, and see what they're working on. So if we're able to do that again, we'll let you know, but we're just taking it day by day at this point. And that's also a chance where, like I said, you can just sort of see that they get to sort of show you some of the process that goes into it. Because I get that not everybody understands it, and maybe understand what goes into it and why sometimes it takes so long to get to where they're going. But it usually all pays off. The other thing to remember, it is a student-run publication. And that really, for me, is the value. I mean, this is, you see, you know, this is a group of editors leading and talking about the tenets that they want to follow, and one of those is family, and sort of that togetherness. So there's just lots of value in that. There's a lot of frustration and when you're learning to go through that process. So bear with us, we'll manage through, but that's definitely part of it. And in a sense, what happens is they end up leading. You know, they take the front of the classroom when they're here. Right now, they're taking the lead in the Zoom meetings. You know, they're running things. They're setting up their own mini Zooms. So, you know, you're seeing and hearing kids meet with editors multiple times and work through things. And I'm more of a whisperer. I'm more the person that's critiquing and going to push here, push there, and make sure everybody's extending and learning the process and pushing to do this well. And really, over the years, it's worked. I've seen it pay off. I mean, I've seen ownership. You know, I mean, here's a glimpse in the room where Lila last year totally took over his corner of the room. They take over in different ways. They're pretty funny, actually. But that takeover leads to stuff, you know. I mean, they just feel ownership, and this is kind of a little project that the editors last year put together that was something to lead through the design process. I thought it was impressive. And in the end, you know, like I said, I serve to critique. I mean, here you start out something like this design spread that's not bad. It's overly graphic and didn't quite work as well as what we ended up with, which was much more photo driven, but is about climate change and everything that went with that. And so, you know, we get there. The process may take a bit, but I've seen it at work over the years. I mean, look at this. Here's a photographer real early real early in my career from here in Shawnee Mission East. Um, and this is the first image she shot. By the end of the year, she was getting a National Photo of the Year, truly. So I've seen the process work and pay off if kids buy in and they work. I've watched an editor turn out like this was the last election and watch her work her way through the spread and try to build something and then suddenly take pieces out of it and build the final spread. And truly this final spread end up being played at the New York Times as their lead art when they covered what yearbooks were covering for the election. So the kids, that's early on, we're all just getting everybody acclimated, getting them to buy into sort of the long road and the process ahead of them. And we're just trying to figure out where life is happening. So you got ideas about where kids are doing things or what's going on. And then being able to just shoot those from a safe, with masks and so safely social distancing that situation. And that's what we're trying to figure out. But it does end up in kids usually winning quite a few awards. That's always kind of nice. I mean, what I always enjoy is the fact that it's a whole variety of kids on this wall when I start posting these for every kid who's won some sort of state, local, or national award. And so it's really kind of fun to sort of see the variety of kids that are able to accomplish that. But ultimately, it's not really merely the book. It's about what, kids go on to become. And here you see editors revering Danya Sawi, who now actually works the New York Times. And so you see the skill sets actually pay off in a lot of different ways for these kids moving forward. And this group that I showed you early on, the girl on the left, is an intern at a law office. Let's see, there's another one that's being held up there. She just won, they won an MU, they won a National Advertising Agency contest. They finished like third, I think, nationally. And then she actually is working at an ad agency in St. Louis. And really, she and I did an interview for a summer project this summer, and she spoke highly of kind of the process and what went into it and how it sort of has benefited her through college and then now in her young career. So there's a process in mind. We're just getting started with it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email address, I answer those pretty quickly. There's my number that you can leave a message certainly, but my email, you can reach me there and I'll get back to you pretty quickly. I'll also tell you that as far as the parent group's concerned, Courtney Sullivan, who's kind of heading leading the J Boosters, will probably be reaching out to you soon as well if you'd like to get involved with that. We might need a little help this year, just depending on what all happens. Yeah, so we're just moving forward. So thank you very much. And let me know if you have any questions.